Greeting Apollos. It's me, Miss Schreiner, your school social worker, and today I'm here to talk about motivation and procrastination and how to find it during a difficult time. Today we're going to be talking about how you can take care of yourself and build up structure and routine to help insulate you from facing challenging days. Teachers, I'm going to invite you to pause at some moments of this presentation, drop a couple links in a chat, and even have a discussion. So be on the lookout. Before we begin talking about procrastination and motivation, I think it's important that we talk about the context of where we are at as a community. Teachers, please drop in the chat the SAMHSA link that you see on the PowerPoint. This way, students, you can read more about each phase as we go along or in your off time. So, there are phases after an environmental crisis. We know this through research that communities go through phases after a crisis. A crisis can be an earthquake, a hurricane, a pandemic, war, any sort of joint community trauma that happens collectively. As you can see that there's a lot of phases on here and they kind of go in a roller coaster format. Right now, we're going to focus on the phase that we are in together as a community. Right now, we're in the disillusionment phase, and this is a stark contrast to the honeymoon phase. If you remember, the honeymoon phase was where we were all growing gardens, making bread, feeling very motivated, and conjuring up great creative ways to stay engaged and connected. Sadly, the disillusionment phase is the exact opposite. It is where we start noticing the cracks in our foundation. Business has returned to usual for some, and for some of us, it hasn't returned at all, and it has only gotten worse. We right now have our optimism has turned to discouragement, and the stress continues to take a toll. And we start seeing more and more physical exhaustion, stress, anxiety. We start noticing the gaps between the haves and the have-nots. We have resources for some, but not everybody is getting to access them to take care of their basic needs. It's also really, really hard because we're going through an inventory process where we recognize the limitations of the resources available. We become physically exhausted, the multiple demands on our life, whether it be being in CDL, the homework, the workload, providing for our family, or even watching our family members get sick. This can really take a toll on how we feel day in and day out. I think it's really important that we notice that this is the stage we're in, but on the flip side, the stage we're moving towards is resiliency and reconstruction. So though we're in a hard stage now, please know that this is not forever. This will end, and the next phase is going to feel really, really good when we get there. Right now, we have the winter break to look forward to. We have a vaccine on the horizon. We can see just a glimmer of the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's important to know that this disillusionment phase is absolutely a layer that complicates how we're feeling. We know that we're in the phase of the pandemic that is the most emotionally fatiguing. How are you guys seeing that play out in your daily life? Teachers, I'm going to invite you to pause here and discuss with your students. You can do this in the chat menu, or you can just have a real discussion. Students, I'm going to ask you, what are your observations? What kind of symptoms are you seeing in family members, friends, or even yourself that might be contributing to the fatigue and the stage that we're currently in? What is common is that we're feeling sadness, anxiety, which lead to symptoms of procrastination, lack of motivation, lack of routine. It impacts our sleep and our eating habits and even our healthy coping skills that we once relied on. This time can impact our thoughts, it can impact our emotions, and it can really lead us down some negative thinking patterns. So what I first want to highlight is how to conjure up positive psychology within yourself. We know that our thoughts are not facts. We can have thoughts and they can seem sometimes crazy, and totally, we can challenge them. We have control and to shift our negative into positive. So sometimes you may hear people say, "Oh, I must finish this task," or "This project is so big and so important. I must get an A. I must do well," or "I must be perfect." These thoughts, while they're meant to be motivating, can actually make us demotivated because the pressure becomes too hard and too heavy. So, one strategy is to challenge your thoughts and reframe it in a positive way. So, if you find yourself saying, "Oh, I must finish that task," maybe change it to, "When can I start? What would be the first step?" If you find yourself saying, "Oh man, this project is so important," change it to, "What is one small step I can take right now to work towards this project?" Or, "I've done 100 projects here at Sunset and I've done them really well in the past. This one is no different." If you find yourself saying, "I don't have time to have fun," or "I don't have time to play," or "What's the point of these silly games?" I'm going to really challenge both students and adults to think about this differently. We must play. Play is a vital part of our happiness, and it promotes gratitude, laughing, being silly. It promotes positive psychology. It helps us be more creative. It helps us with our math and problem solving skills, and can do some really amazing things to build connections with those around us. So if you find yourself saying, "I don't have time to have fun," take a moment and challenge yourself to take a break and have some fun. Teachers, pause here and drop in the chat box, why is it important to have positive self talk? You may have discovered in your chat discussion, a positive attitude helps you cope more easily with daily stressors. It brings optimism into your life. It makes it easier to avoid worries and negative thinking. And if you adopt this way of thinking, it brings constructive changes into your life and makes you happier, brighter, and even more successful. If things start feeling overwhelming, make the tasks look small and easy in your mind. I've written lots of papers here at Sunset. This is just one more. Do only a small part of the task each time. Just check in. If you give like a big book and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I can't read all of this," skim it. Take a moment just to look over it. Become familiar with it. The more familiarity, the more likely you're going to pick it up and take a deep dive in. One of the best suggestions I've read that I really, really like is to do what we would call a 1-minute dash. First, make a to-do list. Put the more challenging tasks at the top of your list. Second, write that to-do list and end with the easiest task possible. Then do a 1-minute dash and write down all the steps needed to beat that first problem you wrote. This should help you get past the fear and the worry that has been building and build momentum into problem solving and identifying the first step you can take. Now let's talk about some things you can do to promote your own well-being. One is to create some SMART goals. SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Find an area that you want to change and set one goal. Maybe it's, "I want to take a break after each class and go out and get some fresh air." Or maybe it's, "I want to start working out 3 days a week." Whatever it may be, make it small and make it achievable. The littlest momentum can really build and help you achieve the next difficult task. Next is to tackle your daily tasks. Write it down. Write yourself an agenda or a to-do list. If it's out on paper, you're more likely to achieve it or accomplish it, and it frees up mental space to think about other things. The next is to build a daily routine. I think routine was one of the first things to fall off back in March when this all went down. So finding a routine and structure can be really beneficial. If our brains have predictability, then we can prevent things and we can kind of let our guard down and follow through with new tasks. For example, my household, we start our day every day at 8 a.m. with a cup of coffee and a check-in. We have lunch at noon and we hike a park at 4. Those are our touch points for our day that help anchor, and they're predictable. And I know that a break is coming rather than being stuck on a computer all day long and wondering, where is my break? The next is self-care. We have to take care of ourselves so we can continue to take care of our families, our friends, our schoolwork, our animals, whatever it may be. We need to take care of ourselves first so we can have enough energy to care for someone else. Self care can be very simple. It can be as much as taking a deep breath, it could be taking a 5-minute break, it could be taking a walk. Very simple things you can do just to help insulate you throughout the day. Two more. Let's stay social. Being social is really hard right now because we don't have access to our normal social touch points, right? We don't see each other in the hallway, we're not having interactions in class, but having creative ways to get social and stay connected can really help conjure up some good positivity and also help us feel connected to our community. I'm very curious how you all are staying connected. Take a moment, teachers, pause here and have your students drop in the Zoom. How are you guys staying connected? What are some of your creative ideas? Finally, you're going to seek out therapy. If none of these things are working and you feel like you're in crisis, speaking to a therapist is a really wonderful way to have a thinking partner and someone to help brainstorm positive coping skills or creating healthy habits to insulate during this very difficult time. So we're going to look a little bit closer at self-care. As you can see, this is a self-care wheel with several domains. And in each domain are some ideas of how to take care of yourself. All of them are free or low cost and can help insulate you from really challenging times. The ones that I really want to highlight kind of fall into 4 buckets: physical, emotional, psychological, personal and spiritual, professional. And when I say professional, I mean you're a student, you're doing work, and this is your domain as well. So I want you to drop in the chat, what are some ideas that you can do to promote physical well-being? Here are some ideas brought to you by your health teacher, potentially Miss Ariano, and the Link crew. Take a moment to review. You could check out a YouTube fitness channel, you could do an at-home workout, or even check out the classes at THPRD. Set a sleep routine. Use a Calm app. Help yourself fall asleep faster. Talk to your doctor if you're having trouble sleeping. Keep electronics out of your room and reduce the use 30 minutes to an hour before bedtime. Eat well, eating foods that are nutrient dense. Avoid junk food and fast food. You can meal plan, share recipes, or even cook via Zoom. And make sure to drink plenty of water. All right, teachers, I'm going to ask you to pause again. Drop in the chat or discuss ideas for things that you can do to promote psychological, spiritual well-being. Some ideas are meditate, journal to reflect on your feelings, and identify the causes of your stressors. Make a plan to video chat with a friend or a relative at least once a week. If you're tired of being stuck at home, wish to travel, take a virtual museum tour, visit Google Earth, or even go watch one of the zoo live feeds. They're super fun. Try to get outside a few times a week. Schedule 20 minutes a day to do something you really enjoy that really brings you happiness. And start each day with a little breathing exercise to get your mind ready. All right, teachers, pause here. Chat about some ideas for things that you can do to promote professional or personal well-being. Some ideas might be start a virtual book club with your friends. Start a Netflix or streaming service show and watch 1 episode a week with your family. Or plan a movie night. Bury a 2020 time capsule with your friends. Have people drop off an object or 2 at your doorstep and then video chat them as you fill your capsule and hide it away on your property. Have fun with it. Fill it with items that will remind you of all the things that happened this year, like masks, some toilet paper, even a small bottle of hand sanitizer. Become a pen pal with 1 or 2 of your friends and send them letters and cards in the mail. Stay connected, Sunset Apollos. All right. This was your advisory lesson for today. I hope that you left with some tips or tricks to generate some good ideas to promote your own well being and your own wellness. I'm going to encourage you to drop in the chat one thing you're grateful for because gratitude is contagious. Have a good day, Apollos.